Was this the best Chargers draft ever? Let's take a deeper look with some draft grades. With their first round pick, the Chargers take Omarion Hampton. I've already gone into a lot of detail about what I thought about this pick, but I got a few more things to add before I give you guys a grade. I think the most underrated aspect of the pick so far, and I haven't really thought about it too much until now, but I really like the fact that they got a running back in the first round. I know for a while that was considered taboo, but I never really bought into it. And I mean, also logically, because of the way defenses are set up now, you might as well have some guys that secondaries don't want to tackle. And in Hampton's case, it's also good for the Chargers because they get an extra year of flexibility with his contract. If they waited to get a guy in the second or third round, they wouldn't have that extra year of flexibility during their prime years. In my previous video, I had talked about how maybe they could have gotten a running back a little later, but I think it was the smartest move, and I think I have to give this pick an A. With their second round pick, the Chargers take another receiver in the second round. And what appears to be a yearly tradition now, they decided to take Harris out of Ole Miss. And I think my instant reaction was I didn't love it, but I think I've changed my mind. I would have preferred a defensive tackle or an edge there, but I can't help but like the idea of them prioritizing another weapon for Herbert, especially one with solid hands. I think expecting Herbert to not, throw his fastball is never going to happen, so adding another guy to the room who isn't scared of the ball is a good idea. And I think the idea that he's not fast is kind of overblown. He had a hernia issue that I think he's recovered from, and he looked pretty fast on tape. Also, Ole Miss tends to produce some pretty athletic guys, so I trust them on this. Not to mention, this gives them some really good depth when it comes to the bigger X-type guys. Because Mike Williams, he's probably going to have some injury problems, so it just makes a lot of sense from a roster building perspective. I think overall, I have to give this one a B+. I think I would have preferred a tackle and edge there, but I still think it was the right idea, at least overall, and you can't really blame them for wanting to make their quarterback better. Next up, in the third round, the Chargers took Caldwell, a defensive tackle. Going into day two, it really seemed like they were most likely going to go after an edge, defensive tackle, wide receiver, and they got 2 out of 3 of those, so they definitely did the logical thing here getting Caldwell, but did they reach a little bit? Some analysts seem to think so, because he was kind of considered a day 3 pick. Mostly because he's not really a pass rusher, he's going to be mostly a nose tackle. As far as pass rush moves, you could always potentially develop them, but his arm length isn't great, so that kind of limits him that way. But at the same time, he's 6'2" and over 330 pounds, and refers to himself as a dancing bear. So I don't have a huge problem here with the Chargers reaching, because I think they got a guy who's going to most likely be a regular contributor to the team. And with the job Jesse Minter did in his first year getting tackles off of the scrap heap, who knows what he can get out of him. I gotta give the Caldwell pick an A-, because sure, it wasn't the most exciting guy, but it's almost like a reverse Telesco kind of draft pick. With their fourth round pick, the Chargers take Kyle Kennard, an edge. I was bummed that Jack Sawyer went ahead of him, only 2 picks ahead actually, but still I think Kyle Kennard's a really interesting pick. Obviously the production, albeit from 1 year, is eye-popping with 11.5 sacks and 15 tackles for losses. And the size and speed combo is really nice. But at the same time, obviously, why did he fall this far? There are some questions whether that production from 1 year is valid, and sometimes you can see that popping up actually. The edge rushers, 1 year production could be just a fluke, and some of his moves don't seem to be too advanced. But if you're being realistic about it, getting a guy like this in the 4th round is a huge boon. Not often you can find a guy as fast as him and as big as him this late, so he's not someone to sleep on. He could definitely have potential to be even better than this draft setting shows. Especially with Mac and Tuipulotu sliding inside sometimes, he's going to have an opportunity for some easy plays. So having that speed doesn't hurt if you're running unimpeded, so he could be pretty productive. I think overall I'd give this pick an A-. With their first 5th round pick, the Chargers take Keandre Lambert-Smith, a wide receiver. There was some concern on Chargers Twitter that they went for too slow of a receiver with Trey Harris, which I don't necessarily even agree with. And I doubt Ortiz and co were on Twitter or whatever, but it almost feels like it based on this pick. Lambert-Smith ran a 4.37 at the combine. This is at 6'1", 190, which is pretty impressive. Still, despite having good speed and size, he doesn't seem to have much strength on the field and struggles getting it out of breaks and will likely have some issues when it comes to clean releases. So in the pros, he's likely the kind of guy they're going to have to scheme getting open unless he can develop more power while still maintaining his speed. But even if he doesn't, it's not the worst thing in the world because he's a 5th round pick. And it'd be just nice to see Herbert throw a few more deep balls again like he did in his rookie year. Maybe he has like Jalen Guyton upside. I know that's not exciting, but I'd take it at this point. So I think I got to give this pick an A, because just at the very least, it just seems like they're listening. Their second 5th round pick, thanks to a trade up, the Chargers select Oronde Gadsden, a tight end out of Syracuse. I really wanted them to go after Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon, but he went in the 2nd round to the Rams, so obviously that didn't work out. At least they prioritized a athletic move tight end for him, with some good size and some definitely good speed. Saw someone somewhere saying, yeah, like Kellen Winslow, like potential, but I don't know if I want to go that far. Looks a little tight-hipped for me, but he's got a really good catch radius, and I think Herbert just desperately wants a good tight end, so I think this has a high probability of working out. I think I have to give this pick an A+, mainly because they traded up to make sure to get him a tight end. Their first 6th round pick, the Chargers take Branson Taylor, an offensive tackle, or now guard apparently. He mostly played tackle during his college career, but he does have some experience at guard. The Chargers have actually already listed him as a guard, so it's clear what they're going to be thinking about doing with him. And they have a pretty big hole there at LG right now. So he has a chance to definitely make some noise this year as a rookie, but you know, being drafted as low as he is, it's something to not necessarily hold out hope for. Who knows? Salyer did pretty well during his rookie year despite being a 6th round pick. Overall, I got to give this pick a B+. I think it's solid, but unspectacular. Next up, we have RJ Mickens, a safety. Obviously, anytime you hear about a safety in the 6th round, the first thought you're going to think of, well, he's going to be on special teams. And apparently he loves them, so that's a good call, and I think makes him a really safe pick here. But he does have some upside. Got a good blend of size and speed. His dad was a former NFL cornerback, so he knows how to read defenses pretty well. And I mean, Alohi Gilman got a decent career out of being a pick in the 6th round, so who knows? I think overall I'll give this pick an A- because Ortiz and co managed to somehow get a high upside player who could also have really high floor, thanks to his special teams ability. With their final pick of the draft, the Chargers take another safety, in Trikweze Bridges. First off, I gotta say I was kind of bummed that the Chargers didn't get the very last pick in the draft, because it would have been pretty cool to have the Mr. Relevant, but at least the Chargers got the runner-up. And like I just said, taking a safety this late is never a bad idea, but I don't know, is it such a good idea after you're taking one already? In their case, it's not such a bad idea because there's a lot of moving parts in that room right now, and adding depth there isn't such a bad idea because he's likely to be a practice squad guy. And you could do worse with a guy who's got a good size and speed combo plus 6'9" wingspan, which was pretty rare for a safety. Either way, giving Jesse Minter someone with a freakish 6'9" wingspan isn't a bad idea. Who knows what he can do with him. I think I'll give this pick a B. Even though he does have some freakish ability, going back to the safety probably wasn't necessarily the best idea, but he probably was also the best player on the board, so can't blame them that much. But it still limits their grade, I think. Overall, I gotta say this draft was very impressive. I would definitely give it an A. It just seems a lot more sane the way they approached it, unlike the years with Telesco. I mean, Telesco did pick Herbert and he had some pretty good selections here or there, but those mid rounds were always brutal. He was great at undrafted free agents for whatever reason, but those middle rounds definitely killed the roster for many years. I think it was just nice to see a really sensible draft where all the needs were addressed while also getting some high upside players. Though it'd be also really nice to see you guys liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching. And if you like the content, I do have this super thanks thing